Hey everyone, welcome to this episode of TNG, and I'm super stoked
Hello.
about this one because we have Gabriella with us, and we're going to be talking about psychic work, oracle work, and psychic messages. So, welcome, Gabriella. Let everyone know who doesn't know you already a little bit about who you are and what your mission here is on Earth.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Gabriella. I am a tarot and oracle card reader, and I'm also a Reiki practitioner. So, my mission is really to spread more love and light energetically. But I also believe that one of the main things I provide is clarity and guidance through working with your spirit guides and getting you some channeled messages. And I guess one thing I would just quickly add is I'm really passionate about helping people drop into their purpose and finding their soul's mission in our earthly dimension.
Beautiful. It sounds really similar to you. Even use the same words that I use to describe the work that I personally offer through
Beautiful.
the divination magic, the divination sciences.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would love to know a little bit more about how you got into performing psychic divination and oracle work professionally.
Yeah. Um, so really when I started reading cards, and I'm using that as a bucket statement, it wasn't tarot at the beginning. I was actually reading a different type of deck. It was called the Lenormand deck. It's much, much smaller. That was a huge energetic vortex and portal for me. So I was about 22. I was working a corporate job in New York, loved going to thrift bookstores, and I found a Lenormand deck in one of those bookstores, took it home. I was extremely obsessed with it. I thought it was the most interesting thing I had ever come across. And I think when you have those moments when you just truly connect with something like that quickly and that deeply, it's a sign. I think that's your spirit guides, like kind of nudging you towards your purpose and your path. So I started reading that deck and then got really practiced at it, did tons of readings for friends, and later transitioned into tarot. And that was when I started getting tons of messages. So I'm clairvoyant, I see images. I am a little bit clairaudient. I'm also hearing quite a bit. But yeah, that's how it started. It really started with reading cards.
So, what would you say you personally believe is the power of, I was going to say listening, but more paying attention in the psychic arts?
I think it's everything. It's everything, right? Because the more you listen, the more still you are, the more present you are. And I have a background in coaching, so that does come naturally to me. I do think that definitely helped me on my journey. But it's like that power of truly being present. It allows you to pick up on all of the stimuli and all of the additional information that most of us are typically missing. So when we think about a normal person's average conversation, probably they're hearing like actually 20 to 30% of what the other person is saying, and they're really so much more focused on themselves. And one of the principles of coaching, which I think translates really nicely into spirituality, is if you're already kind of like rehearsing what you're wanting to say, you need to readjust and remind yourself, like, drop into the present because you're not like 100% there with that person. And we're taught in coaching to honor somebody's like difference in like pace and tone and things like that and pick up on that. So I think I had those skills. And then once my portal was opening to more psychic and intuitive messages, it was this really beautiful combination, because I was able to also make note and honor the things I was getting intuitively. Like if I saw a flash in my mind, instead of saying, okay, I'm going to ignore that and just be like, oh, I'm crazy. I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, let me inquire about that. Like maybe that actually applies to something that's going on in the person's life. And once I started validating that with people and confirming that, I was really amazed at the beginning. So I wasn't born with what I would call, I mean, I think everybody has intuitive ability, but I wasn't aware of it at a very young age. It was something that developed over time for me. So yeah, I think listening is everything, and paying attention to really anything you get, it teaches you so much.
That's interesting in talking about what I would call conscious listening. What you're describing is something that I personally have definitely practiced throughout my life, and it's been a huge boost for the ability to integrate and receive other people's wisdom, which then comes out of my mouth as people think it's my wisdom, but I've just been listening. But what you said is so powerful because as an empath and a psychic, I could sometimes people let me into their mind. I'm not consciously trying to like read people's minds, but I can look at somebody and read their thoughts and okay, you got this going on. You're thinking about this. That's a good thought. That's I don't know. We should be thinking that, but so many times people are, as you described, rehearsing what they're going to say the whole time you're talking. And so that gives no room for psychic information to come in. And it also gives no room for sensitivity and receptivity of your environment as well, because you're constantly rehearsing, oh, I'm going to say this, oh, I'm going to say this. I think it's also a fear of forgetfulness. People are like, oh, if I don't say this now, I'm going to forget. But your mind is a library. You take, okay, I want to say this, put it back on the bookshelf, wait till the teacher, whoever's with you is the teacher, finishes speaking their lecture, and then you can take your book of wisdom out and share what you have to personally offer. And it might transform. That's the beauty of fluidity. It might transform your message that you thought that, oh, I need to rehearse this and say this and think this while the other person's talking, which is internally rude. It's emotionally rude. And a psychic will look at you like, hey, you manners in the spirit world.
Totally.
But also that fluidity allows you to be more transformative, and maybe you had something you were going to say and then it transforms into something even more powerful and more healing. And I'm also very interested in that you said that you have developed into a powerful psychic, and I can always tell from the heart that when somebody's a real deal psychic or not. And it's polarizing, kind of yin yang to my experience. From an early age, I was definitely psychic. It was very clear, like at 3 years old, saying, "Oh, I had this lifetime as a caveman in Cappadocia, or I had this lifetime as a Chinese qigong master," and pointing up to the stars and telling my family,
interesting,
Ryan's belt, that's where I'm from. At 3 years old, I was saying this. Look,
wow,
that's my spiritual home. Whoa, don't say that. Don't say that. And then we start to kind of numb the abilities. But yeah, being able to balance that gift and development of the gift, right? People just are so naturally talented, whether it's in athletics or whether it's in psychic powers or healing. I see this a lot in Reiki. People will just say, oh, I have the gift of healing. Okay, I'm a Reiki healer now and I'm a master. Yeah, sure. In order to get to the level of healing proficiency that I would say a lot of my friends are at and myself is at, and qigong masters, Chinese medicine masters are at, is they don't just figure out they have the chi or the key and the light and then they go, oh, that's it, I don't have to study life anymore, I'm good, I'm a healer, that's it. No, you have to continue. So I would love to ask you about how can somebody who doesn't have the gift, isn't born with the gift, I guess it's better to say, or maybe their karma is covering up or the BS in life is covering up. What are some things in which you personally and which you advise people to cultivate that gift of intuition, gift of spiritual healing?
Yeah. The first thing is I think it starts with making like a conscious choice. Like I am consciously choosing to prioritize or cultivate my intuition. And I always tell people you kind of have to make it as important as anything else in your life because it's a practice and you have a relationship with it. And it's really the same with anything. It's the same with tarot cards. Like you build a relationship with that tool or that modality over time. And I do believe that there are kind of multiple channels that people can use to become more intuitive. I think number one, stillness. So meditating, you're always going to hear it, but it's really it's really about the practice, I think, of being still so that you're in that presence where you can actually receive messages that you are not able to receive if you're constantly moving around. It's just going to be harder for your spirit guides and angels and any like ascended masters to send you those messages if you're not creating space for them. Like imagine if you were them trying to send you a message. How do you send a message to somebody who's like jumping from meeting to meeting, and first second they're doing one thing, next second they're doing the next? You have maybe like a second to send that message. So when you're still, you're making yourself available to receive, which I think is really beautiful, and that's something anybody can do. Like literally anybody can be still. So the commitment, the stillness. And then I think there's a whole bunch of other modalities which we often put under the umbrella of spirituality. So, practicing Reiki, practicing yoga, reading about ancient traditions. Like I got really into Buddhism. That was something that truly helped me when I was around 14. Just even consider the possibility that we've had different lives, which I know now to be true. Like that's something in my being. I feel, yeah, for sure. There's no way that we don't. Um, but yeah, I think it's kind of an art and a science, similar to what you were saying. Just finding what is it that speaks to you. So if it's yoga, for example, making time to put that into your daily routine, your daily life, and seeing what it does for you, because you're inviting in the energy, and from there the energy will expand and fill in the space for you.
Yeah, when you open up like that, what you described is very omniscient or
Yeah.
omnis. I consider myself
Mm-hmm.
omnis, which means whatever works, whatever's
Yeah.
pono, as the Hawaiians would say, whatever's good, right, and effective is what
Yeah.
I'll utilize in that moment. And that's the importance of non-judgment and non-bias for anyone
Mm-hmm.
who is listening to this video that is interested in potentially training to become a higher level psychic or to
Mm-hmm.
become a higher level healer. Remembering that rigidity puts limits. So that's okay. It's great if you're putting boundaries in like your kingdom or your queendom that you have already established. Plenty of different variety of healing tools and psychic tools and spiritualities and religions and different wisdoms and nourishing factors like that at a spiritual level.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start to say, "Oh, I'm just Reiki and that's it," or "Oh, I'm just yoga and that's it," and then everything else is bad, is when you start to limit your expansiveness, which is so vital, and really hitting home the
Yeah.
point of non-bias is
Mm-hmm.
every psychic who considers themselves an elite level or a high level psychic needs to be completely unbiased. If you can be completely without ego, even better,
Yeah.
especially during the actual uh, experience. But non-bias is so essential because when that shadow work comes in through the reading and the
Mm-hmm.
person is, let's say, for example, eating meat and pizza every day of their life, and it's really low quality meat and pizza. It's not like they're going out and
Mm.
elk and farming the milk themselves. No, they're going to Mickey D's or whatever, getting a local pizza
Yeah.
pie, chicken wings. And the psychic reading comes up and it's like, look, you're gonna have a heart attack if you don't change your diet. within 10 years, maybe more or less. But to be able to say that, yeah, it's interesting because
Mm-hmm.
I've been able to toot my horn a little bit. I've been able to keep a 5-star rating for this
Great.
expanse 5 years that I've been
Yeah.
professionally doing readings for hundreds of
Nice.
people. And you'd think from the egoic perspective that, oh, if I tell people the blunt honest truth all the time, then they're gonna dislike me. But I love this story. I'm glad I have this opportunity to tell this story because it's pretty funny.
Yeah.
um one of my, for her privacy reasons, I won't disclose her name, but one of my really awesome, really successful, like power boss woman clients, her first reading, she came to me. She wanted to talk with her grandpa, who had passed away recently.
Mm.
And when I tuned into the spirit world, uh, certain ancestors of hers came in and they were just sending messages. And she's saying, "Yeah, but what about my grandpa?" And I tuned in and I said, "Okay, I'm not really picking him up. He's not really coming up." And I go, "Whoa."
Mm-hmm.
I tuned in and he's in like a lower realm, like what somebody would consider like hell, like a lower
Mm-hmm.
teaching realm of somebody with really bad karma having
Mm-hmm.
to really go through a lot of suffering in their spiritual afterlife to be able to come back and reincarnate and learn those lessons and be somebody who can fulfill soul's natural evolution and not de-evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And you think she'd be like, "Oh, like F you, how could you say that about my grandpa?" But
Right.
she said this, she said, "You know what, Owen? That's how I know you're the real deal, and I really appreciate and I'm gracious for you saying that because I've had visions of that and I know what you're saying is true."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So rather than, and this can relate also to our everyday lives, is sometimes we think we're doing the right thing by being nice, but the more and more I personally evolve on the path is realizing that authentically, I'm not a nice person. I'm very kind, which takes strength to choose kindness.
Yeah.
But when something comes up for shadow work, I'm not afraid to
Mm-hmm.
at this point in my life to give an FU or to give a more warrior
Yeah. It's
vibe
great.
that's needed and it's authentic. Uh, and I think I got off track a little bit, but like, yeah, we may think we're doing the right thing by being nicey nice all the time. But sometimes if somebody's got crap on their face and you say, "Hey, dude, this is a blaring thing that's happening in your life and it's not good. And I don't
Yeah.
like it." And then they go, "Oh," some people will go, "Oh, you're judging me," or whatever. And then some people will go, "Oh my gosh, I didn't even know. Thank you for pointing
Right.
that out." And they can clean
Mm-hmm.
themselves up at whatever level, psychically, verbally, physically, financially, all of these things when you are honest and authentic as
Yeah.
both a person as an intuitive, which everyone has the intuitive part, then you can
Mm-hmm.
start living in a more magical way of life. Because when
Yeah.
people do what you want, also when you're honest with what you want and what you don't want,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people are willing to help out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what would you say is some of the things along your life path that have correlated with becoming more authentic and how that has benefited both your professional work and your work in just
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard
Yeah.
work.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Yeah, so I'll definitely respond to that. The other thing I was gonna say quickly is I feel like when you are an intuitive or a coach or whatever it is, when you're holding that healing space for somebody, a lot of times you're telling them things that nobody else is going to tell them. Like whether they want to hear it or not, you might be really progressing their soul's journey and their soul's path by surfacing something to them that literally nobody else is ever going to say, right? And so you can deliver really difficult messages with compassion, but I completely believe in being honest. Because if you're not honest, you're not really giving them the tools that they need to work with. Like maybe they really need that change in their life, whether it's like a really subtle shift or a really big shift. If you're not honest, you're not sharing your authenticity. So that was something I wanted to add. But in my life, wow, I used to be such a people pleaser. Like I was definitely brought up to be like very agreeable and very caring, and I am very caring. That's who I am. Like I meet everybody and I have like this genuine love for them, and I think that's also how I kind of knew when I started to get into like 13, 14 that I was pretty intuitive, that there was something like kind of special about me because I am such an empath. So that's a positive thing to an extent. Um, but it became a negative in a lot of ways because at work, for example, I would always be working myself to the bone, like really burning myself out, doing things to please other people, and then forgetting to check in with myself and ask myself, is this my purpose? Like, is this my highest capacity? And so what would happen from that is I would be doing all of these things to make other people happy. And then after like a year of doing that, I would sit down and have this wake up moment where I was like, oh my gosh, like this is not what I'm meant to be doing. Like I'm meant to be pursuing my spiritual work, my coaching work. Like that is my purpose. And that's just something within me energetically. It just feels so aligned. Whereas when you're not living in your purpose, there's that energetic resistance. Like you feel like it's a struggle. You feel like, why am I having to push myself to be in this space where like, oh gosh, it doesn't come as naturally, I think. Um, and we can go on a whole caveat about that because there's shadow work and there's all this other stuff that is also really difficult spiritually. But I think some of the moments in my life which were really difficult but necessary were like leaving jobs where I was prioritizing other people above myself, leaving really long relationships. You know, I was in like a 7-year long relationship and so loved my previous partner like so much. Like he's so soul family and I have unconditional love for him. But it came to a point where I was like, you know what? Like this isn't allowing me to expand anymore. It's kind of keeping me, and I know how my life would look if I stayed in this, but it's not like the growth and the expansion and the freedom and creativity that I'm looking for. So definitely all of those moments, it felt like taking such a huge leap of faith, especially if you can get easily caught in kind of social norms like, oh, what do my friends think? Like, what will my family think? Like all of that stuff. Like by taking this risk, what will my life look like? But those are the times when, I kid you not, I've like been on the floor and I've just been like, okay, spirit, God, angels, all of those watching over me, like I surrender to you. Like this is a leap of faith and I trust you, and I'm just gonna go and I'm just gonna do it because that's what feels intuitively right to me.
I love the way, and it's becoming very common for people to describe the creator in this way with the infinite names.
Yeah.
There's so many names for that mysterious force, that oneness, that primordial creative force that we're all connected to. So just whoever's watching this, find one that works for you. I meditated upon it and I got Ja. Which is what
Love that.
the ancient
Yeah.
ancestors and the Rastas.
Hmm.
Bob Marley has one of the
I
greatest
know.
songs that I really love is "We'll Be Forever Loving Ja," and
Yeah.
part of it's really poetic song. It's about a tree planted by the river. Kind of the river represents God or source or spirit, and a tree planted by the river will prosper. A tree planted by the source energy will prosper. So one of the names for God in Hebrew, I've been connecting in. My great grandma was Jewish, so I'm connecting in a bit more with the Jewish magic, and it's much different than the Christian stuff. It has a lot more wizardliness to it, which I personally
Mm.
like a lot better. That's just my
Yeah.
opinion. But Gabrielle or Gabriella, which
Yeah.
the ah is the feminine
Mm-hmm.
syllable,
Mm-hmm.
is messenger of
Mm-hmm.
God or
Yeah.
El or Yahweh uh, or Jah. There's even,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a whole. I'll get some Kabbalah guy on here to talk about the God. There's Ahava, which just means love, and Tikva is hope. But
Yeah.
Gabriel is spiritual messenger. Is
I know.
aspect of
Yeah.
the that gives you the messages that you need. And a really powerful point I want to make to you all for the protection of psychics everywhere, good psychics, for
Yeah.
crappy psychics, feel free to shoot the messenger. Please do. So they're not continuing the BS.
Yeah.
But please, when you hear a harsh truth, even if it's not a professional psychic giving you this message, don't shoot the messenger. I had a
Mm-hmm.
dream one time that I was with Archangel Gabriella, because a lot of times Gabrielle comes in female form because the water element is what she rules over, and angels are androgynous and all the
Mm.
different things
Yeah.
that
Mm-hmm.
people
Yeah.
can study in more detail. But I had a really beautiful dream with Archangel Gabriella, and she was needing healing, and it was myself and Archangel Raphael, the Archangel of Healing, and Medicine Buddha, the Buddha of Healing, and we were offering healing to Gabriella, and I was like,
Oh.
she's so wounded because people shoot the messenger. I'm like, oh,
Right.
we need to get people to stop doing that. Like, the
Yeah.
person offers you the wisdom, especially triggers, you should bow to them. Like when you're triggered
Mm-hmm.
and somebody obviously is showing you an aspect of the oneness that you don't like about yourself, instead
Mm-hmm.
of going, oh, I hate that, that's just causes pain inside, and
Yeah.
that breaks out. Instead of doing that, you go, okay, what is the curriculum here? Like
Yeah. Yeah.
I had the pleasure to be able to meet my teacher TJ's guru Ramdas, and
Mm.
he had this one saying, "Oh, don't let it slip my mind. I'm like on the verge of forgetting it." um, oh gosh, it's totally slipped my mind.
It will
Oh
come
well,
to you.
it'll come to me later, and then I'll be all excited about it.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, now I gotta
Yeah.
say something about Ramdas. He had this way about him that, in the sense of being fluid and being more important, anyways, that and it was like he could not be bothered by anything. It was
Mm-hmm.
his vibe was so high, and
Yeah.
I wasn't really like a big, oh yeah, Ram Dass guy before I met him, but afterwards I was like, whoa, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
His
Yeah.
vibe was
Totally.
so loving and so
Yeah.
high that it's like I couldn't see him at that point in his life, rest in peace. But at that point in his life, it's like impossible to bother this guy. He's like so loving
Yeah.
that you I remember. Yes.
Okay, what is it? Tell us.
He was connecting with God one time and meditating with God, and he was talking to
Mm-hmm.
God. He was struggling earlier in his life, and God told him, this form of God told him, well, you're at Earth School. Why don't you try taking the curriculum? And then his whole attitude shifted, because instead of all of these challenges being, oh, such hard challenges that only I'm facing and blah blah blah, it's like, oh no,
Mm-hmm.
these challenges are blissful experiences of this great evolutionary test that the
Yeah.
universe puts us through, so that we can be more joyful and more strong and more happy and more
Yeah.
productive, relaxed, and all these things. People don't get it that the darkness, the light, all of it in between. It's there to make you have a better experience, not a worse one. But if you get
Right.
stuck in like trying to learn the same lesson over and over again of duality, of like, oh, like those people who hate shadow work and they're all oh, I'm good vibes only, like, yeah, sure, okay.
Hmm.
What about that over there? What about that thing over there? What
Yeah.
about that karma? Sure, good vibes only. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not good vibes only. That is Ramdas is the only
No.
person I've met that I could say this guy is pretty much good vibes only.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah. Also, I think sometimes when we meet people, and I found this in the past when I was kind of going through my spiritual journey or spiritual ascension, whatever you want to call it, I would meet healers and there was something in them that I kind of found triggering. And it was because they had this, it was like this presence, like they were so in their power. They were almost so limitless. I was like, hey, can't you like kind of like be more casual, like be more human? Like why are you so like that? And that was something really interesting to me. And the most fascinating thing is like looking back year and a half, 2 years later, those people were my best teachers for
Mm.
sure, because I had to ask myself, like, what is it within me that's being triggered? And what is it within me that's resistant to occupying like that level of limitless space and power? And I think it's because, in our society, we're kind of taught to talk ourselves down or to be kind of like self deprecating sometimes. And we have this, it's like this tension where we don't want to own it, like whatever it is, like when you are stepping into your purpose, your power, like sometimes we feel like, can I really let my light shine that big? Is that okay? And so when I saw people that did, I was like, oh wow, what's wrong with them? But after, what I did is I kept forcing myself to interact with them because I was like, there's something I need to learn. So if you're ever experiencing that little bit of tension, I think that's another really good way to deepen your spiritual journey and also deepen your intuition, because it's teaching you something about like your shadow that needs to be released or something within you that you haven't fully healed yet or brought to the surface.
A good point, kind of along the same lines of that, is that envy is a
Yeah.
completely useless emotion. I mean,
Exactly. Yeah.
when
Yeah.
we look at emotions, I don't look at them in good or bad. I look
Mm-mm.
at them like depression can
Mm-hmm.
be like that, can be in and out if you take deep rest and go, okay, and love it. Because joy, a lot of people think love is joy. And so they're trying to get high all the time. Joy is the high
Mm-hmm.
vibration. It's like woo, like being on top of the mountain, going skydiving, that
Yeah.
dopamine kick. But that love, and if you're a science junkie, which I don't think anyone watching this is going to be, but there's a lot of different beliefs out
Yeah.
there.
You never know. Yeah.
Oxytocin is a slow burn. It's
Mm-hmm.
you can be in that sadness or that grief and you could still love it. And then it's like that
Mm-hmm.
beautiful melancholy kind of poetic
Yeah.
emotion that you can have, and it transforms your life into being 50% good, 50% bad, to 100% love, 100% enjoyable. I mean, there's joy in that word, but 100% content would be a
Yeah.
better word.
Totally.
100%
Yeah.
satisfied with the experience that basically you created. The universe is a feedback system, a karmic
Mm-hmm.
system.
Yeah.
So as a psychic, we're not allowed to take on your karma. Some people try to do it, it just causes both people pain. But we're here to help you see your karma and to
Mm-hmm.
take the steps karmically to experience the life that you want to. And a
Mm-hmm.
really good example I like to frequently use is it's relative to my past lives, so I guess that's why. But
Yeah. Cool.
if you like to fight, right? If you're a warrior and you go and you fight, then more people are gonna fight you. Like if you go punch someone in the face, then their friend is gonna come try to fight you, and people think of that, oh, bad karma because you were violent. It was like, no, that's the game they were choosing to play, warrior game. And so now I'm at the point in my life, I'm like, I don't want to fight anymore. But I have all this compiled, I have all this compiled karma of past lives of sword, fist, bow and arrow.
Yeah.
And the universe said, okay, well, you don't want to play that game anymore, so you have to choose peace all the time, and you have to make that your new game. And I started integrating, okay, when there's a violent conversation coming up, oh, that's my karma. Okay, peace. Oh, there's violence in the world. Oh, I'm so triggered by it because it's my karma that I don't want anymore. Peace. Meditating upon peace. For anyone who
Yeah.
doesn't believe in the power of metaphysics, I believe you said something about this somewhere in this talk, which I really was enjoying, was that your spirituality, if that's your purpose, especially, is what creates the physical reality. Like I'm in a beautiful hostel right now. That's why it's kind of a weird background, and I don't have a nice homely tea set
It's all good.
or
Yeah.
a soft note things, but this building is only beautiful because somebody's brain and spirit imagined it first.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
like,
Yeah.
all of the trash in India was made up in someone's brain. All of the most majestic, sacred, beautiful temples and mansions in India also made in someone's brain. Same
Yeah.
thing in New York. In New York City, where I'm from, all the pollution, somebody's brain and spirit
Yeah.
was and offered that, gifted that to the world, and the world said, "Oh, thanks. That's kind of like a crappy gift you gave me, but whatever." But then you have like Chapel of Sacred Mirrors, it's called, in upstate New
Yeah.
York.
I know it. Yeah.
Yeah, with Alex Gray, the visionary artist, and it's like that's all
Yeah.
from his imagination. He just made that up. It wasn't like he just sat back and like, oh, the world happens to me and I'm complaining, which is a lot of people are in that vibration, in that
Yeah.
mental
A lot. Yeah.
wavelength. He's like an artist, and he said, okay, I can go more than just painting and sculptures and stuff like that. I can create a temple and people can come here. And his community were in northern Italy in the mountains is like an ecologically sustainable community. And that's a really good leeway because somebody at his community center, and they're all tripped out hippies for the most part, so they come up with some far out ideas. Some person, I think it's she, but I'll just say they to be proper, is
Yeah.
this person invented a machine that you hook up an electrode to a plant and it speaks. Not in English, but it
Oh,
basically
wow.
makes a song. And it's not like something where it just randomly generates it. It is so beautiful. You hook it up to a sunflower and it's like angels. You hook it up to like an ancient Bodhi tree and it's like this low, rounded Buddha presence. And that
Wow.
lead I was talking about is that when we enhance our psychic abilities, as you were saying, cultivating them in the listening department, in the 2 ears and one mouth. So when we enhance listening with all aspects of our body, our ears are the first part of our body to form when we're an infant, is we can listen to not just words, but to emotions, to energies, to plants, to all aspects of nature. And this is why people gravitate towards Native shamanism and Taoism and Buddhism, because a lot of those Eastern and shamanic cultures believe in animism, which is you can talk with the tree, emotionally. You could talk with the stars emotionally, and genius comes from that. So I would love to hear your opinion or
Totally.
your feeling about
Mhm.
animism, like the anything from a tree being truly conscious and at what level, or even like my cup of tea. Does that have consciousness? What do you think and feel about that?
Yeah, that's something I used to be really fascinated about, and I think I'm still searching for a clear answer, but I know, from Reiki and energy work, everything has an aura, whether it be my mug or the tree outside or the plants in my room. And just as a very basic experiment, like I genuinely feel happier when I have plants in my room. That's something I can say for sure. And so that's already a clue to me that everything is energy, like literally everything. And I think that's why when you go to certain places, like you can feel if somewhere is a spiritual vortex. Like when I went to Machu Picchu in Peru, and I know it might sound cliche, but I got there and I was like, oh my gosh, like, wow, this is so magical. Like I can see why people for so many, like hundreds of years, have come here and used this as like this healing place and also created all of these structures and things, um, because it's like a vortex. It just is. And so I think everything has energy. Places have energy. People have energy. Plants have energy. Totally believe that. I've also done like not very scientific experiments, but just for myself, where I've had plants and I've like put them in kind of my spiritual space, like where I do my tarot, my oracle stuff, my Reiki stuff, and they literally grow faster than plants where, they're out just like not in that space. And they've done studies like if you pray for plants, they grow faster than if you don't pray for them. And I think that's the same when you hear those stories about people who are like sick in hospital. When people pray for them, they often get better and they often heal more quickly and more deeply than when nobody is praying for them. And there are just so many amazing stories about that. So I truly believe everything is energy. Um, I think of it as particles, and I'm not a scientist myself, but I just think of it as like a vibration, which I think that's kind of like a universal thing. You were just talking about that with the tree, but there are certain things and certain people where you meet them and you're like, whoa, this person is energetically vibrating at a very deep level, or they have like this very beautiful, like well-rounded high energy. And there's other people or things where you come into contact and you're like, I don't necessarily know why I feel that way, but something feels kind of off, kind of strange. So yeah, I completely believe that plants and animals and really everything in our natural world has energy, and that's why they're so healing too.
Hmm. Energy and also intention. Uh,
Yeah.
the best
Yeah.
lessons that my psychic teacher, my psychic sensei, Roy Kiyoshi Goya, uh, who you will probably be able to get to meet because you're going to Maui. I will definitely
Yay. Yes, so
Roy
excited.
home on a spa Maui, one of the greatest healing centers on the planet. One of
Mm.
the best psychic lessons that he taught me is that when you were talking with the spirit, or when you're in a place, or even when you're talking to an actual human, or even an animal,
Hmm.
if you're into talking with animals,
Hmm.
feeling their vibration is the key to seeing if they're a trickster or not, because sometimes people will have visions.
Yeah.
Like, I had this nuts lady contact me on Facebook, and she was like trying to get a free reading, and she was like,
Hmm.
I can bring bugs back from the dead, and I was Joan of Arc, and all of these things that were like super ego. And I'm like, uh, I would just destroy your ego if you get a reading from me, lady. Please don't. But
Yeah.
when you feel into the vibe of a being that's coming to you in your consciousness, in your dreams or meditation or whatever, or a person that you meet in physical, practical reality, their
Mhm.
vibration will tell you if they're soulful or soulless. So sometimes
Mhm.
beings come dressed in the allegorical, metaphorical term of wolf in sheep's clothing, like somebody who wants to harm you but is wearing
Yeah.
this mask of
Mhm.
being a financial
Yeah.
advisors. A bigger one is
Yeah.
if you feel intuitively that there's a flat line, is what Roy said,
Mhm.
then you know you are not to engage with that being, unless maybe you're gonna
Mhm.
transmute it and transform it into a higher vibration being, teach it about love. But when you have a
Yeah.
being that is beneficial for you, it will have a vibration. Even if it's a really, like, some people have a really low vibration in a good way. Like, for example,
Mhm.
on an indigenous grandma shaman
Right.
in Mongolia, uh, grandma feminine spirits tend to be more in that grounded space, and it can feel like
Mhm.
very stable and slow and manifesting and receptive. So the low vibration doesn't equal bad. It just
Right. Yeah.
means it's more present in a physical experience. And that
Mhm.
high vibration uh, tells you, usually, I mean, love is the highest vibration. So if you feel that like bubbliness, you're like, okay,
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
is the person that's probably gonna have best intentions for me. But don't take
Right.
things at face value. If somebody, if a being comes to you in your meditation and it's Jesus, or that's a common one that people get effed over by. It's, oh, I'm talking to Jesus, and that's like
Right.
a surefire
Yeah.
way to get really I don't
Mhm.
really believe in mental illnesses, but when people go that
Mhm.
way, uh,
Totally. Yeah. Totally.
it can get there because they're projecting so much things, and it's so easy to control someone for one of those soulless beings I was talking about coming in, and they make themselves
Yeah.
look like a picture that somebody has seen of Jesus or an angel or
Yeah.
something, and all of a sudden they're like
Yeah.
making deals with a demonic being, and I
Yeah.
don't believe in demons in the sense of like, oh, there's like this evil being that's so traumatizing for people. I believe that it's an emotional mental thought form, so that
Mhm.
we create gods, we
Yeah.
create demons, we create angels through our emotional and mental thought forms, and that can come from
Mhm.
any living being can create that, and co-create that with the creator. So be careful,
Totally.
people, with wolves in sheep's clothing. If you feel a flat line from somebody, there are soulless people out there. There are people that are on the way deep end of dark karma. So if you meet somebody and there's like, oh, this is like,
Yeah.
it usually feels like a bit like,
Yeah.
like that kind of cringy flat line, stay away. And if you feel that oscillation, listen to that oscillation. Uh, like the
Yeah.
classic Genesis, uh, the word
Totally.
was God, the word was the creator. So that first vibration that you get, listen to that, and it'll change and it'll fluctuate, and you play with it. Play with your light, play with your word, play with your vibe, and interact with that vibe. So you're not just listening, but you're also playing. You're having this
Yeah.
very sensual
Yeah.
dance. Whereas, okay,
Exactly. Yeah.
person's feeling good. Let me see if I could play and dance and make them feel more good and feel more loved. Or if they're feeling bad,
Mhm.
let me see where you're at down there. Can we bring that up? You don't want to go up? Okay, let me meet you down there maybe. So this is all ways in which we could really enhance our ability to
Yeah.
psychic sense what's up. And that's
Yeah.
why
Exactly.
that's why throughout my life, um, I look at people when they're like, "Oh, my friend did this to me." I'm like, "Your friend did that to you. Well, you weren't listening because like people that have that flatline vibe, or like they got
Yeah.
like a really
Hmm.
greedy vibe or something like that. I just like they don't become my friend. They're outside the kingdom. They're outside the
Yeah,
healthy.
right.
So so
Yeah.
trust your intuition, and don't fall for these people that have this vibe of like,
Right.
oh, like the fakey fake Cali
Yeah.
Cali Cali classic energy,
Big
all that
Cali people.
nonsense. I'm calling it out for you because you're not enlightened.
Yeah.
You're not that Cali. New York has New York. You're not um, nearly as ready for what you're trying to portray yourself as you think you are. Humble.
Totally. Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because the other thing is like, what are you making your energy available for?
Mm.
So when you meet people, often, I don't want to necessarily say it's a test, but it can be a bit like a test. Like, it's like, how in tune are you with your energetic radar? Because you can tell usually if somebody comes across as a little bit fake, or they're not genuine, or there's something in them that is unhealed. But there are people who are honestly very good tricksters. Like, but you know, the more attuned you come to energy, and the more you dive into your intuition and any kind of energy work or practice, the more you start to pick up on things where it's not just black and white. Like, there's a lot of gray in between, and there's a lot of different colors when it comes to energy. But yeah, I always go back to that. Like, people can really only come into your field, whether it be physical people or energetic things that you're making yourself available to. And if you are allowing yourself to bring in something which is darker, or is maybe more of like a repressed energy, you've made yourself available to that. So, yeah.
That's a really, really succinct and wise way of putting that. What you're making yourself available to, because
Yeah.
I'm the type of person that if somebody's gonna cause senseless drama, block.
Yeah, totally. Me
There's so many
too.
friends and soul family on the planet. If I don't make myself available to them, then where's the drama on them? So
Yeah,
there's this
exactly.
beautiful martial arts story that this this really egoic uh, kind of immoral warrior storms into the dojo, says you're a fake, you're a phony, you're trash to the high ranking sensei, to the high ranking martial artist. All of the
Hmm.
students, oh my gosh, they better fight. He's gonna fight him. Oh my gosh, he's got to prove to him that he's the better warrior. He's obviously the master. He's obviously better than this young brash egoic dude. And the master just sits there and goes, yeah, you might be right. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
and he's very kind of non-responsive, and the warrior's like, fight me. Is no, no, I'm gonna have some tea. And
Right.
shocked, the students are shocked, and the the now energetically deflated ego trip storms
Yeah.
out and all pissed off, doesn't fight anybody, is embarrassed and angry,
Hmm.
and the student comes to the master and said, you just got embarrassed. Why did you say no to fighting him? Now he's gonna go say you're a coward. Now he's gonna go um tell stories about how weak you are. And he says, no, he's not. He said he came to this space with problems inside, and I said no to the problems, and he left with the problems, and the dojo is still clean. And everyone had a
Mm,
nice
love
lesson
that.
from the wise martial arts master is a meme and is a is a
Yeah.
is a archetype that can be replicated across multiple realities, even your reality. You could be that wise
Hmm.
sensei who says, "Oh, petty drama. Oh, no, thank you. Sorry."
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
And be able to laugh at it.
Exactly.
I mean, I was talking with really awesome new friend Leora yesterday, and about this story where
Hmm.
somebody was really cursing at me and like really getting ready to fight and all of these things, and I was laughing. I was like, I just got
Right.
out of meditation and I'm literally laughing, and this person big, big, and I know martial arts and am able to hold my own in a fight, but I'm laughing and he's so pissed, and his friend's so pissed. Oh, what are you laughing about? How are you laughing? Is one of the questions they asked too. Why are you laughing? Now they're in a state of confusion, and
Yeah.
I'm winning the battle without even lifting a finger. And I'm like,
Right.
it's funny that you think that uh I want to engage with this conflict. Like, I want you to be happy too, is what I said. And they're
Exactly.
really
Yeah.
confused. And now they're starting to feel sympathy and compassion, which is conflicting. Now they're fighting themselves. And like, they want to fight.
Exactly.
They don't want to fight me. And then the battle's over. I go say bye bye, and conflict is solved.
Totally.
Maybe the Russian government should hire me to be a diplomat for the whole world. I don't want to work
Yeah.
for the United States government. Oh gosh.
Disclaimer. Yeah, but
Uh,
it's true, like it's your choice. It's your choice to be free. And that's why you can take like the same situation and two people can respond to it so differently. And at least since working with energy more closely and trusting my intuition, like everything has gotten so much easier for me. Because I used to think, oh, this thing happened, I should respond in this way. But honestly, life just becomes more like a flow. And I laugh more and I have more fun and I enjoy myself more. And it's because I chose what to me is freedom. So I notice that a lot.
that's a really emotional message for me because you and I are both people who have done the inner work to a point where we enjoy our lives and we have certain successes. And people project onto that and go, oh, like, I can't reach that, or like, oh, that person, it was always that way, but we weren't always that way. I mean, I remember clearly as a kid and as a teenager having like crippling social anxiety, and it manifested in different forms, but not the ignorance was the pain. It wasn't
Yeah.
a problem that is unsolvable, which is what Western medicine thinks, or Western
Hmm.
psychology thinks. It was like, it was no, I was literally going into the city, and that's where I would feel it the most. And I was feeling other people's energy and their thoughts and all of them so sensitive, and everything's coming in, and like, oh, overload. I was a smaller being. I was literally smaller, couldn't handle it, didn't have the strength to or wisdom to transmute that. But once I once I started Reiki, for any of you who haven't trained
Hmm.
yet, uh, that's when all anxiety completely stopped in my life. Legitimately,
Yeah.
all of it
Mm.
transformed because I learned the dynamic that other people have energy that may not be beneficial to you. And if you can
Right.
channel your energy to transform it, then you don't feel bad. Then you're not anxious, because the anxiety is a vibration that people are tuning
Yeah.
into. If enough people
Right.
are in fear, then other people will be afraid of something completely meaningless in terms of being legitimately afraid or senselessly afraid. So I
Yeah.
know we're running a bit over time here, but what is a finishing message that if you had one loudspeaker that everyone on the world could hear, what is your message to the world?
Mm. Well, the first thing that's coming to my mind is it all starts with prioritizing yourself,
Mm,
dropping into yourself. And what I mean by that is like taking the time for stillness, taking the time to check in with yourself, your emotions. If you're feeling something, it's for a reason. And from there, you can surface, what is the shadow work or what is the intuitive work that you're being called to drop into more. And it's commitment. It's just commitment to yourself. And when you commit to yourself, you're committing to your soul. And that's the most beautiful thing of all. And that's how we can truly make those around us also energetically vibrate at a higher level or a more spiritual level. So just knowing that when you do work on yourself, you're literally healing your community. So I think that's something to know. That's my message.
find your dharma, your purpose, and your karma. There you go.
Exactly. Yeah. Perfect.
Thank you so much, Gabriella, for being on this beautiful, wonderful, blossoming show. It's not a little where I've had some awesome
Yeah.
experiences
Oh,
come out of
beautiful.
this experience. So it's beautiful to watch
Thank you so
this
much.
little show become a big tree and have wonderful people like yourself come and share your wisdom and your love with the world. Oh, if
Thank you.
anybody's watched for this long, I don't think people have that kind of attention span. But Gabriella has a little bit of a cold. Please send her your healing energy,
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it.
and everyone have a wonderful day. Love you all. Peace.